We knew the Red Sox needed to make room in their middle infield, and well, it looks like they finally made their decision. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The first trade of the MLB deadline for the Red Sox is officially here, right? I feel like this week is sort of when you're going to start to see the Red Sox pick up the pace between trades and whatnot, but their first trade of the 2023 MLB deadline season has been made, and it's a bit of a doozy because not only does it help the Red Sox, but it also gets rid of a fan favorite. The Boston Red Sox have officially traded Kiké Hernandez to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and what's interesting about this trade is not only what trading Kike away means, but who they got in return as well is a very, very interesting story. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break down this first trade by the Boston Red Sox. We're going to talk about what Kike leaving means, not only for Kike, but for the Boston Red Sox and for everyone surrounding it. We're going to talk about who the players the Red Sox got back, what they mean, and what their impact could look like on the Boston Red Sox. And we're going to talk about how this trade in total could have an impact on the Red Sox trade deadline strategy. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. There's no real beating around the bush, right? Kiké Hernandez was struggling both at the plate and on the field for the Red Sox. At the plate, he finished his time with the Red Sox, at least in this season, hitting just .222 with just a .279 on base percentage and a .320 slug. Good for just a 61 OPS plus, or about 39% below league average production. And then on the field, it wasn't much better. In fact, when he was at shortstop, he was one of, or if not the worst defensive shortstop in all of baseball. In his total time there, Kiké Hernandez made 14 errors, 13 of them on throws. He was also towards the bottom of the league in outs above average. And to be honest with you, I hate when players leave like this, especially players like Kiké Hernandez, where you have these great moments with them, but because they did so many poor things before they were traded or not re-signed or whatever, there's a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, right? Because there were times where Kiké Hernandez was really important to this Red Sox team. The 2021 postseason was the biggest moment of Kike's career with the Red Sox, right? During that postseason, he hit a miraculous .408 with a .423 on base percentage and .837 slug, which was good for a 1.260 OPS. He also had 5 home runs, 4 doubles, and a triple mixed in there as well. He was also a really great defensive center fielder that played an integral role in getting the Red Sox to the postseason on the field as well. On top of that, too, he was a leader in the clubhouse in a time where there were a lot of changes, a lot of things going on with this Red Sox team, and that was very important as well. So as much as I sit here and I say yes, obviously this trade makes complete and total sense for the Boston Red Sox, right? The Red Sox had a log jam in the middle infield. They didn't really know where they were going to fit everybody, right? Kike felt like the odd man out. This now gives the Red Sox opportunity to bring Trevor Story back and be a true upgrade for this Red Sox team. It also allows guys like Yu Chang, Pablo Reyes, and Christian Arroyo, who have been making a bigger impact at the big league level this year than Kiké Hernandez, to get more playing time. And overall, right, it feels like it's a great move, right? One of those moves that's an addition by subtraction. Removing Kike allows all of these other dominoes to fall that eventually will help the Red Sox in the long run. But it's also okay to feel bad about Kiké Hernandez leaving and acknowledge that there were good times with this player. Both are completely valid to understand, and that's exactly sort of where I'm feeling right now, right? I totally understand the move. I think it was a good move to trade him away, but I'm also going to miss Kike the person, and I'm going to really appreciate always what he did for the Red Sox in that 2021 run, regardless of the fact that they didn't win the World Series. This is also going to have a really interesting effect on how the Red Sox approach the MLB deadline now, because one, I think the Red Sox were kind of trying to decide between letting go of Adam Duvall, who probably could bring in the bigger prospect haul, or letting go of Kiké Hernandez, which solved your middle infield problem. And now that they've traded Kiké Hernandez, I would be a little bit surprised if they ended up trading Adam Duvall as well. I'm not saying it's not on the table anymore, because we just saw yesterday or a couple of days ago that the Braves are showing interest in Adam Duvall. I'm just saying it feels like it's a little bit less likely that the Red Sox are going to start trading off more position players because of the fact that they need that outfield depth, they need that middle infield depth, and right now it feels like they may have the perfect amount, especially in the outfield, right? You've got Duran, you've got Yoshida, you've got Doogie, you've got Refsnyder, and you've got Duvall. You have 5 really competent outfielders out there, and it feels like you're in a good place outfield depth-wise. So I think this move by trading Kiké Hernandez away does make it a bit more likely that the Red Sox end up holding on to Adam Duvall. But again, it's not fully off the table. I just think it makes it a little bit less likely. So not only does Kike being traded act as an addition by subtraction type move for the Boston Red Sox, but it could also change a little bit their approach to the 2023 MLB deadline. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about what's being brought back to the Boston Red Sox and why these players could be very interesting. Now, I was actually a little bit surprised by the return the Red Sox got from Kiké Hernandez, and we'll get into why they got the package that they got in a little bit, but let's first talk about the prospects themselves, because the first prospect the Red Sox got back in the Kiké Hernandez trade is a 26-year-old relief pitcher by the name of Justin Hagenman. He is a relief pitching prospect that spent most of his year so far at the AAA level. Now, in AAA, Hagenman has started 5 games, but has spent a majority of that time in the totality of 25 games as a relief pitcher. In that time, Justin Hagenman has a 2.78 ERA over 55 innings pitched. His FIP is much higher at 4.88, which is a little bit scary, and he has had a bit of a home run problem so far this year, but there are some really good metrics to look at as well. He currently has a really low walk rate at 1.8 walks per 9 and a pretty high strikeout rate at 9.82 strikeouts per 9. He also left a career high 93.5% of his base runners stranded this season, which is really good, right? So he is giving up some contact, but he has limited the ability for other teams to do damage, which in my opinion is a really, really great sign. So that's probably why his FIP is much higher than his ERA is because other teams are getting on base when he's on the mound, but they haven't been able to capitalize on it so much this year, and that's a really great sign. On top of that too, right, you talk about the little bit of a higher strikeout rate. He does not walk a ton of different batters, and is this guy going to be an absolute superstar for the Boston Red Sox at any point? I'm going to guess probably not, right? But he could be a pretty interesting piece as we get further along during this season here in terms of depth in the Red Sox bullpen. We mentioned at the beginning of the Red Sox sort of trade deadline type maneuvering here that they're going to start doing, that they're looking for a middle of the pack pitcher and a right-handed relief option, right? Justin Hagenman is a AAA arm that could come up for a couple of weeks here at some point during the season and fill that role for the Boston Red Sox. So he's a bit of a lottery ticket, right? You don't know what you're going to get from at the major league level, but he could be a really interesting piece as they get through this season. And if not this season, he could be an impact piece in the Red Sox bullpen over the next couple of years, depending on what he can do at that point. So a little bit of an interesting prospect there in Justin Hagenman, but the real star of this trade is a guy by the name of Nick Robertson, who is actually a top 50 prospect in the Dodgers farm system according to Fangraphs. Nick Robertson is also a righty relief pitcher. He's about 24 years old, and he has been absolutely dominant so far in AAA this year with the Los Angeles Dodgers AAA affiliate. So far this year, in 27 appearances and 28 1/3 innings, Robertson has just a 2.54 ERA with a really impressive 2.95 FIP. An even more impressive 13.34 strikeouts per 9, and he does a fairly good job of limiting walks this year as well at the AAA level at 2.86. Now, aside from him being statistically better than Hagenman so far this year at the AAA level, the difference between Robertson and Hagenman is the fact that Robertson has some major league experience. He made his major league debut this year, and he pitched about 10 innings for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, the exact amount of innings he pitched was 10 1/3 innings this year in his first major league stint, which resulted in a 6.10 ERA, but a much lower 3.19 FIP, and still a pretty high 11.32 strikeout rate, but a bit of a higher walk rate at 3.48. He is mainly a fastball changeup guy, which was actually a pretty recent change, and it was a good one. It resulted in an uptick in strikeouts throughout both the AAA level and the major league level this year for Robertson, and right now he's getting about 43% whiffs on his changeup and about 34% whiffs on his fastball, which is great, right? He's missing a ton of at-bats. We see that in that strikeout rate number, and this is a guy who I think could legitimately have a pretty pretty big impact on not only the 2023 Red Sox, but the Red Sox of the future, right? Because this is a guy who does have major league experience, not a lot, obviously, but like Hagenman, as we get towards the end of the year here, especially when we get to September call-ups, there are going to be a lot of interesting candidates for the Red Sox to choose from to help bolster this bullpen, as hopefully we are making a push towards a postseason position, right? And Robertson could very well be in the mix for that option. He could also very well be a sort of depth piece for the Red Sox, that if someone else goes down, you don't have to go to Caleb Orr, you don't have to go to Justin Garza, you can go to this kid Robertson, who may have a little bit more upside than either of those guys. So not only does Robertson feel like an intriguing prospect that could make an impact at the major league level, but he also increases your depth on a team where you've been riddled with injuries so far this year, and you haven't really had that incredible depth that we've seen in the past, especially in the bullpen, right? Obviously, the bullpen's been able to hold it down this year thanks to guys like Pivetta and Winkowski taking huge steps up, Murphy taking huge steps up as well, but you've also had guys so far this year like Justin Garza, like Joe Jakes, who it has done a little bit better, but is still a little bit iffy, and Caleb Ort as well. So you're taking one of those guys out, you're putting Robertson in, and I think this could be a really, really interesting conversation at the end of the year as to what this trade looks like in terms of impact on both the Dodgers and the Red Sox because of this prospect right here. Now, like I said with Hagenman, Robertson probably isn't going to blow your doors off, right? He's probably not going to be a guy who's going to come up here and be like, holy crap, we found our setup man for the next 6 years, right? But he does have the opportunity to be, both of these guys really do, to have the opportunity to be depth on this Red Sox roster. They have the opportunity to be an impact player, at least at the bare minimum at the end of the year, or even just a couple of weeks throughout this 2023 season. And to be honest with you, that's a lot more than I thought we were going to be able to say when the Red Sox traded away Kiké Hernandez. But either way, I think they got a good package in return. Now, obviously, the Red Sox did not do this for free. They did not absolutely school the Los Angeles Dodgers. They did have to give something up other than Kiké Hernandez, and what they gave up was about $2.5 million in cash. Kike was owed about $3.4 million to finish out the rest of the 2023 season, so the Red Sox are paying off about 90% of what's left on his contract, which again makes sense to get the prospects that they were getting, because honestly, if you were going to trade Kike flat out, you weren't going to get any prospects worth any value if you weren't going to take on this money. But it still does give the Red Sox a little bit of room to fiddle with here as we approach the major league deadline, which is exactly what we've been wanting the Red Sox to do for a little bit, was create a little bit more room before we get to the trade deadline, so you can really kind of mess around and hopefully get someone in here who could be a legitimate impact player. So I think overall this was a really great trade for everybody, right? The Dodgers get a guy who, one, they are familiar with, who can play multiple positions, and who's been a beast in the playoffs in the past for little to no money. The Red Sox not only make room at the trade deadline for a little bit extra when it comes to acquiring players, but they get rid of that sort of logjam in the middle infield, allow for other players to be more impactful in this lineup, and they also get a couple of really interesting bullpen arms who could quite possibly be impact players down the stretch here, or maybe they don't, but either way, you get a couple of interesting prospects back, and I think overall it's a win-win for everybody. So overall, again, I think this was a really successful trade, and this was, again, the first trade the Red Sox have made approaching the MLB deadline. The question is now, where do the Red Sox go from here? So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of this trade? What do you think of Kiké Hernandez leaving? What do you think the prospects are getting back? How do you think this affects the Red Sox for the 2023 season? How do you think this affects the Red Sox approach at the deadline? And where do the Boston Red Sox go from here? Let me know all your thoughts on the Red Sox first MLB trade deadline trade in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.